Welcome to Shop Tour Part 3 at McDonald Blacksmith Shop in Los Lunas, New Mexico. Here we've got one of our sample boards. Some of these are step-by-step prototypes. Others are samples I've done with some of the other master smiths that taught my trade. Right, this is a step-by-step sample of how to split and drift holes. And then you can either make them for round stock or for the square stock. These are some quatrefoils that I did with Francis Whitaker. Samples of twists here. Here's some 1-inch square, solid. Twist for legs. Here's some tubing. 1.5 twisted. Okay, this is one of our stake stands, Anvil stakes, planishing. We've got this mount here that we put our standard tapered tangs in here, Hardys. Alright, so I've got this so I can interchange quickly all the different stakes. Put these in here like so. This. So this is how we make our standard stake like this. We can do this in 2 heats on the power hammer. Take a piece of 1.5 solid, taper it down, and it'll lock into place. Here's some other styles, shapes. Attach a ball. Angle stake. It's good for using on reprise work and armor. Here's a specialty one that I'll be using in the next couple weeks. Take a look at a series of Swage blocks that we have here in the shop that have all types of impressions, and they can be set up on end on these stands so we can use the sides. Here's a nice little Swage block that's easy to handle. Turn up on end and use all these for swages. And here's a heavier swage. It's got different bowl impressions, spoons. You can use these to put your different Hardys, cones. Right, these are called mandrel cones, and we're using these usually to make circles and rings. Much like the horn on an anvil, but in a vertical position. Shapes and shapes. All right, another swage block here, and the stand that we had to make so that we could use it on end. So we can pick this thing up, lay it flat, turn it on all 4 sides. So here's one of these old-timey kind of stands to put mandrels, stakes, and such. And it's nice because you can easily interchange stakes and they'll lock into place. And this is really easy to move around the shop. This was the first post vise that I ever purchased, and I had an old timer cut a log for me, and I used this for straightening twists up. So all these grooves are from hot metal being put in here, and I use rawhide mallards. So this is a really old bighorn stake anvil, and instead of coming in and grinding all these wear marks shapes here, I leave it that way because it comes in handy when I'm forging, and instead of a sharp edge, to have it nice and rounded here. So I leave it the way it is. Okay, these small cones are really nice because they're easy to move around the shop. Make a secure stand with an edge on it here, and this groove is to be able to place your tongs in here. So if I were to be forging this piece, I would have it in this shape here, and I would be working it like so. All right, this is a series of handheld swage tools, top swages, counter punch here. Here are types of top swages, lightweight handles. Can be used under the treadle hammer, power hammer, sledgehammer. And shapes and shapes. A lot of these Cliff and Ralph show you how to make. This is our assembly area, and it's all unfinished walls of adobe brick. The Rio Grande River runs behind us, and so they used to take all the riverbed and make adobe bricks, and where they needed, they put logs in here. It's all ponderosa pine type ceiling. But two of the biggest challenges when we moved in here was to put all the electric into code, and the other was to hang all these heavy tools on these mud walls. So we had to build all kinds of steel infrastructure, as you had seen on the other side. Got a vertical bandsaw here, and then we've got this homemade type of belt sander. That's our everyday grinder. We've got our knife grinders on the other side, but this thing is used basically every day. It's got a Scotch-Brite wheel. This is another one of our post vises here with a very heavy stand. Second one next to it here. We got another one of our step vises that we can switch over to both sides here. And then this is a post vise that needs some restoration, and we're going to be making springs for a couple more post vises. Right, this is our layout tables, and we have our fixtures to assemble our door entry hardware. And here is a special layout table. It's 1/2-inch stainless steel, and you want to talk about a rigid, hard surface to work on. So whenever we need to flatten something else or check the flatness, that's where we can do it. Nine and a 1/2-inch grinder that we have mounted in this position here, which gets some serious material removal. Here's an industrial type of Mankell 2-burner forge. It's got heavier doors and bigger square opening opposed to our narrow forges. This is our Beverly shear for our sheet metal cutting. You can do circles and shift everything around in the right position. This is our 55-ton hydraulic punch press or iron worker. We can shear round, stock, angles, flats through here. It's actually got a, what I call a nipper on this end for notching and stock removal. So this is the end that we use most of the time for all of our punching. And this is our best way to make profit in the hardware business. Instead of sitting drilling holes through heavy material, we're punch pressing all of this, and I've never been any good at drilling square holes, so this does the job for me. So we've got a whole series of punches: standard squares, rounds, and some custom made punches. Now here's a little tool tip for you. To make these type of handles, you can use round pipe, and you can forge it down flat, and then come over here instead of drilling a hole. We've got 3 other drill presses. Our magnetic drill press is out there in the forge trailer, and it's nice to be able to keep a countersunk in one of these so you don't have to be changing bits all the time. Okay, we've got our chop saw over here. Our large arc welder is usually sitting here. It's in a different area right now. MIG welder. And we got a plasma cutter here. Our first plasma cutter, when they first came out, they were huge, big units. These are really nice because not only are they portable, as long as you've got your air source, but it's supposed to be able to run on 110 as well as 220. We haven't ever tried it on 110, but we did make a pigtail up for it. And so theory has it we can go out on the road as long as we have the proper air source. This cabinet here is for our tool steels, high carbon, air cooled steels, blanks. We've used hundreds of these over the years. Just all of these have chisels that all can be reforged. Standard steel stock, S1. A lot of air-cooled steel. We've got all types of spring steel also. Flat lead spring, round coil spring of different thicknesses. We've got piles of it out back. This is our chop saw, or what's often called a cold saw. One of the most used tools in the fabrication assembly area, and that's a 9.5 inch grinder. And we have a portable bandsaw, horizontal bandsaw. We've had this one here for over 35 years. This is our standard steel stock supply. Rounds, flats, squares, tubing. We keep all the excess and all of our plate steel outside. This shelf here is full of prototypes, extra parts, step by step. It in general looks like just a bunch of junk, but these are actually quite valuable pieces here. And it comes in real handy when we're designing something that we can pull off samples and lay out a gate for a client or a lighting fixture and use all of these as samples. So that's the end of our shop tour, part 3. But I wanted to finish off by showing you the tools I started out with. So I built this box for all my farrier's tools in 1980. This is all the tools I had to start out with, and the large bench vise that we showed in a previous tour. Thanks for watching American Blacksmith, and we'll see you on our next forging video.